This is Pam Hardison with Jelly Generation, where we try to make the complex simple and give us parents all the tools that we need to launch our kids out successfully and for us to survive in the process. I know that right now you might be just looking at your child and thinking, oh, they were just this small and now they're this big thing, and sometimes they talk back to me and they roll their eyes, what happened to my precious baby, and I'm going to miss them. And you're already thinking about that day when they head out to that first job and their foot is out the door, or they head to college, or they're in college and one foot's in and one foot's out, and they come home for spring break or they come home for Christmas, and you just miss them like crazy because your world is so much a part of them, and that's the number one thing that you knew that you had to do as a parent, was to love them and to launch them out as best you can. And yet the world comes in with all these things, and there's just so many pitfalls that you know that you had as a child or a young adult, and you don't want them to go through easier either. And so you are just struggling with all these different things. Well, been there, done that, and we've taught so many students for so many years and talked to so many parents about these very same things. So I just thank you so much for being here today. Well, today's topic is completely different than what we would normally cover. Normally we cover really high educational concepts and take a concept, drill it down, and give you actual steps on how to execute it with your child. This time, it's there, but it's slightly different. It benefits us, and it also benefits our child, but in kind of a very unique way. I will never forget the day that I took my first to college, and it was not in my state. I cried all the way up, and my husband went with me. And I think he'd finally had enough of it after a while. He's like, it's not like they fell off the side of a cliff. You're still going to get a chance to talk to them and see them. Well, you know, and I know that that's not quite true. We don't get to see them as much as we could. And now that challenge to stay in touch with them becomes different. They're headed to football games, or they're headed to work, or they're headed to 1,000 other things that you don't even necessarily know about anymore because they're not under your roof. And okay, let's face it, we all worry a little bit when they're gone and letting them go. And for the record, I can honestly look you and the camera and my computer into its eyes and say I'm not a helicopter parent. I am really not. The business that I started and the things that I've done in my life, I love staying busy. I love talking to you. I love working with you. I love Jelly Generation. But I still do look for ways to stay in touch with my kids, even though they are not exactly home every night like they used to be. So here it is. There is a concept that I was introduced to. I didn't make it up, so I don't know who to thank for it. But I want to pass it along because if you've never heard of it, you're going to be so glad that you did. We call it, or it was introduced to me as, the Parent Boxing Party. Now, when I first heard that, I thought, boxing party? Are you talking about gloves and the whole, no, not at all. Okay, this concept is so cool. So here it is. In your child's graduating class, there are parents that you spent time with because you saw them at football games, or you saw them at school nights, or you saw them in the carpool line. I don't know, but you've made friends with them. And I think the thing that's the hardest, one of the things that's hardest when you wave goodbye to your child, is you feel like part of your social life went with them. Part of your chance to stay connected to friends and to stay connected to your friends' friends, your friends and your kids' friends. Just, anyway, that's what this boxing party thing is all about. So let me go ahead and introduce it to you, because I would never don't want to admit that when my child left, half my world went with them. Keep on rocking and rolling. I know the same thing for you. I have everyday things I do every day. I research very hard on the things that we do. We still teach and shoot film and have classes and all sorts of things. But staying in touch with my children and my friends that I met along the way are hugely important to me. The boxing party is very simple, and it works like this. Find parents that you want to stay connected to and kids that you want to stay connected to. I don't know how you want to make the mix up. We in my particular group, we had, I think, about 12 parents. Moms, dads were invited to this as well, but for sure, in this instance, the moms or the guardians came. We had a little bit of both. And we had kids that graduated high school. Now, they weren't necessarily all going to college. Some of them were going to trade school. Some of them were going straight into a job. Regardless of what that is, this concept works. So I invited them over, and they were to bring 3 things. To bring a box, to bring, in this instance, since we invited 12 sets of parents or 12 moms over, bring 12 some little small something. I'll get to what this is in a minute, but 12 small somethings, and then put a little tag on each one of those things saying who it was from and maybe a quick note or miss you or love you. So every parent brought 12 things. So theoretically, you had 144 things. Okay, so there you go. That is it. A small box, some small things, all the same. Your 12 things can be the same thing. And you can set a budget on the same thing. Now, what's going to happen with these 12 things? All right, so you set them around the table in sets of 12. You take your 12 whatevers you brought and put them in a pile, and your friend Susie does the same thing, and Beth does the same thing, and Joanne does the same thing, and you go around your kitchen table, or whosever house this thing is at, around the kitchen table. So you have 12 piles. Then you as moms, or you as a dad, or whomever, take the box that you brought, you pick one of each thing and put it in your box, so that when you are done, you have a box with 12 different little somethings in it with little notes to your child. You are going to take that box of those little bitty gifty things and you're going to mail it to your child. Okay, guess what? When they open it, my kids instantaneously called me, Mom, I got this thing. And in it, and she goes through and she listed all the things that she got, and both of them just thrilled. I only have 2. 2's enough, kids, by the way. Anyway, sorry. Okay, they get thrilled because they get these little somethings, and guess what? We parents are not dumb. We timed these boxing parties around an event, around finals, or around Valentine's Day, around Easter, around holidays, some significant something where it kind of helped us create a theme, actually, for Valentine's Day. You could put little Valentine's candy and that kind of thing. Be careful. Okay, we'll talk about the things to pack, but don't forget, don't pack anything that's going to melt in case you live in a hot climate, or this particular box is going to be mailed in a hot climate. Okay, so you pack up all your 12 things, and then you as a parent take home your little box of your whatevers. You send it to your child. No one else, I don't have to be responsible for sending Susie's kid her box. And that's the beauty of this thing. It's so simple. You go buy 12 somethings. So let's talk about the somethings a minute. We've said don't do anything that's going to melt. Some kids are allergic to things, so be really think through that and avoid the peanut butters and that kind of thing if you're going to do little crackers or something. But set a limit on how much each particular widget costs. You can set it for $1 if you want to, and you go to the dollar store and you pick out your 12 somethings. You can set it for $2. You can set it for $5. But be careful not to set it so high that it becomes something that no one wants to participate in, because that destroys it. That so-and-so can't come, and then there's only 11, and you've missed seeing Susie because she couldn't do the $5 something. But I think I'm going to make sure that someone, as we film this, are going to put up on the screen some suggestions of things that you can bring. Little bags of Cheetos. Get a big bag of chips and break them down into 12 baggies. You can save a lot of money that way. You can erasers, hand sanitizers, little socks, little fun, those cracker kits. The dollar store is just huge. Think of all those things in the dollar store. Little bitty notepads, real cute notepads in the theme of Valentine's Day, for instance. You can take popcorn bags. Most kiddos at this point have access to microwave oven. That kind of thing. So they could do those soups, those little heat 'em up soup things, or you could do those little popcorn packets. Buy 2 or 3 boxes of popcorn packets and put a little note to eat to your little popcorn packets. Now, the little notes that you want attached to each, make sure that your guests know who all is coming, so that maybe if they have a minute, they can do a little personalized note saying, "Oh, Susie, I know how much you're enjoying where you are, wherever it is, and just miss you, and I hope that my daughter gets a chance to see you when you come home for Christmas." Any of those kind, just a little small something if you can. Now, if that note part just freaks you out and that's too much time, don't worry about that. The whole thing is just put your name on it, so they see all these mothers and dads or guardians cared about me to send me this care package just out of the blue. All right, now the beauty of this is pretty obvious, but I'm just going to go ahead and spell it out anyway in case you're busy and you're running around right now kind of listening to me as you were doing something else. You've had a chance to get with all of those friends that you don't see very often. You get a chance to hear about what some of the kids are doing, how their job is going, or how that college is going. You just get a chance to catch up. Now, if you want to make a food party out of it, everybody could bring a little snack for everybody else to share. Or if you know you're going to do this twice a year, say for finals in the fall and finals in the spring, that kind of thing, then split the group up. This, the first set, the 6 moms, y'all bring for fall and you bring for the spring. That's fairly obvious, right? You don't have to do the food if you don't want to, and I don't think anybody should feel like they need to have a perfectly pristine house to do it. All you really need is love, desire, and a breakfast room table. I had so much fun at these, and I would love to give credit on who invented these things to begin with, but they were a joy to execute, and the secret sauce of all of this is that your children will love it. Who doesn't love to get a box in the mail that they didn't anticipate with little somethings in it? Of course they do. And they love hearing about what those mothers are doing and about how they're missed and that thing. And you're going to get that phone call, or you can text and say, "Did you get it? Did you get it? What'd you think?" Blah, blah, blah. It's just a chance for you to touch base with your child and help them at a very stressful time. And when you start this as a freshman, and I don't know that we went through all 4 years of college, but I do know that we did it at least for their freshman year, maybe their sophomore year. Depends on how together you can keep your moms. And you can invite different moms and have different ones of these. Oh, I forgot to tell you a couple of more things. Make sure the things that you bring are very small so that you're not spending an arm and a leg to send 12 things to your child. You can go to the USPS post office, and they give boxes for free. So you can go ahead and get your box for free and then mail it through the government. I think it's, I don't know, what, $5, $6? I'm not really sure. I know that changed based on weight and where it is and where you live and that kind of thing. But either way, have fun. An evening with your friends that you don't get to see very often, and an evening to chat and hear all about what they're up to. And don't forget, if you're a mother whose kid is just going gangbusters and everything is working out right for them, they're involved in this and involved in that, and they got elected this or they're doing that and so forth, they met the boy of their dream, I don't know what it is, but that's not going to be the experience for every child right out of the box. Sometimes kids get where they think they want to go and they find out it wasn't a good fit, or they want to switch schools, or they want to change their major, or they want to do a different job and go to a different city. Be very I encourage parents to be very aware of not going overboard if your child is just doing that. You want to hear about everybody, and you don't want to make some other mother feel guilty because her child is, something didn't work quite the way it was initially anticipated. But there it is, a fun way. Touch base with your kids. Touch base with your friends. And you know what? You can have a social life after they're gone, despite all the work and despite anything else you might be involved in. Because I know, and Jelly Generation knows, you can have success in the middle of it all.